jam, girl. Follow the alliance. Down the road. Follow the white line.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of the National Alliance Weekly Program. I am William Marlin, leader of the National Alliance, and today I am hosting this week's program because none other than Silveria Jacobs, who is generally the host of the program, will be the guest this time on our weekly program. So when we come back, we will be joined by Silveria Jacobs, host of the weekly program of the National Alliance.
Follow the white line, down the road, to the polls, girl. Follow the alliance, down the road, and we go vote, girl. Follow the white line, down the road, and we go jam, girl. Follow the alliance.
Welcome back. And as I said before the short break, my guest this evening is none other than Ms. Silveria Jacobs. Ms. Jacobs, welcome to the program and good evening.
Good evening. Good evening to our viewers. Good evening to you, my leader, Mr. Marlin. How are you?
Fine. And the reason why we have chosen to talk to Silveria Jacobs tonight is because just a few weeks ago at the National Alliance Congress, you were elected as the new deputy leader of the National Alliance. And I want to publicly again say congratulations to you and welcome as our new deputy leader. As the new deputy leader of the National Alliance, how do you feel? How did it feel at the Congress? Was it something you were looking forward to? Is it something you're expecting to get the support from the Congress on?
Okay, actually I felt not robbed, but at the Congress I really wanted to address the people before they took the vote. However, it came out in my favor, so I'm very happy. Leading up to the Congress and talking to many of our, supporters out there, as well as people that would like to support us, they have expressed to me that they see leadership qualities in me. Now, this is not something that I personally had aspired to, but one of the things that I think I've grown in is that I've learned to listen. So after hearing it for quite some time and thinking about it, and in discussion with my team, which is mostly family members and close friends who have decided to support me and help me to get elected this year, it was decided that I'm ready for the next big step. Even though I'm pretty young in this political arena, this is only my second term running for office, the first time being in January and in September of 2010. And those two experiences were quite exciting. They were both in the same year. It was perceived as being very successful. But after the disappointment of not actually getting a seat then, after coming quite close, a few votes, and then sitting in opposition for the first year and a half, I settled into a new role, and I was a manager of a school and really enjoying it, and said, when they say everything is for a reason, it's for a reason. And I'm gaining necessary experience in that area because all of my experience had been at, teaching and lower management levels, but not the top management level in a school. So I savor that experience, but when then I got the opportunity to serve the country as minister in that same area, I was elated, a little bit scared. I won't, try to lie about it. It was a very scary decision to make.
Well, what stands out? Cutting in on you. I'm the one that made that call, and I know I caught you somewhat by surprise when I told you, that we were planning, following, what now became known as the Carnival coup. But when that coalition was formed back in 2012, and I called you and said, one of the portfolios that the National Alliance will be holding on to would be education, sports, and culture. And I had one choice and one candidate, and that was you. What are the things that stand out, let's say, most during that one-year term in office? What are the things that you enjoyed or things maybe you did not like?
Well, I was getting to that, but I didn't actually finish answering how I felt, with the whole becoming deputy leader thing. And the lead up, like all these different growths that I had gone through in this short period is what people kept telling me that you are destined to do something else. You are destined to, and actually in conversations that I had with you, you had indicated to me that you saw something in me as well. So with that being said and done, that's why I postulated myself, and my team postulated me actually to be deputy leader. And then it was a bit nerve-wracking going up against George Pantoflet. But in the end, the votes were counted, and it was that I had won the Congress's vote and support. So I was quite happy, quite elated. But then again, it is a great responsibility. A great responsibility, because I believe that you are the leader of the party and you have a tremendous amount of experience, a tremendous amount of knowledge, like that is in here, in your head. And it needs to be, we need to share as a party more. We do not want to have that, yes, we have a very strong leader. We want a strong leader. We love the fact that we have a strong leader that has taken us to this point. But we need support. I felt that our party needed stronger support next to the leader. And so therefore, I think I can complement you and bring something different to the table. Being a female as well, I think that perspective also helps. And the demographic of our voters, they want to see more women and strong women in leadership roles.
It's one of the things that, I've just yesterday, well, if I say just yesterday in the supermarket, it's every day practically I'm in a supermarket. But just yesterday, I'm in a supermarket and speaking to someone, and they say, oh, by the way, congratulations, great choice for the deputy leader. And when I say just yesterday, it's something that I've been hearing more and more. But it is something also that takes us back to almost a year ago during your term as minister, and just after the coalition no longer had the support of the majority and the National Alliance was replaced, one of the things that many people were very, very much regretful about was the fact that, we had a good minister, we had a strong minister of education, we had a strong personality in the political arena. And they were not happy to see Silveria Jacobs go, and therefore they are extremely happy now to see Silveria Jacobs moving forward within the fold of the National Alliance. If we would take the National Alliance history as a party, as a group, technically we can say it started way back in 1978. When we started the SPM, the leader then was Vance James Jr. I can't recall us having a deputy leader at the time, but I know Miss Elaine Gomes-Vlon, she was elected the first female island council member that St. Martin has had. And then, but throughout the history of the SPM, followed SPA, and then National Alliance, we have had a male at the head of the party as leader, and the deputy leader for the SPA has been all along former member of the party, Franz Richardson. So I think with that, we have had several women. Even in 2010, there were a number of women who were on the list, but we have had a team of strong male candidates, and with the new electoral system, no matter where a woman is featured, if she doesn't get as many votes as the male candidates, then the preference based on the system would go to the male candidates. But I'm confident. I'm confident that this year around, your person will get quite some support from the voters, because across the board, there's a buzz hey, we are happy to see a female, we are happy to see Silveria Jacobs. But to get back to it, during the time, the year that you served as minister,
what was that like?
What was some of the things that you were happy to work at? And I know from my own experience, when I was commissioner the first time around, and that too was for a year, you leave, it's as if you started doing things and, you didn't have enough time. A year is definitely not enough time, but there are one or two things always that you feel, I should have been given at least another 6 months or 3 months or another year to finish that. Did you experience that?
That year as minister, I could say was my biggest growth to date. It was a transition from, I can't even tell you, from the chicken coop to the big house. I don't even know how to better describe it. The responsibilities, I mean, were inconceivable. It took me about a month to 2 months to actually figure out all that was going on in the different departments. But even while that was happening, we went in May. It was the end of the school year. There was so much going on. And the plight of teachers had my concern. And I jumped in with both feet, having the Teachers Congress, I mean, as soon as we went in. So literally hit the ground running. And coming from that field, I know that there was a lot that had to be done. But I felt that we had to have the buy-in of the persons who we want to make a change for. So that Congress, I believe, was very, very successful in Silveria Jacobs, showing the people of St. Martin that I have achieved a position, an appointment. It was not an elected position, so it's an appointment by my party, but that I would go in there to work for the people of St. Martin. And so I started immediately with the teachers, who I believe are the key players in education. If we are unmotivated as teachers, no matter how much education we have, we cannot disseminate, we cannot motivate, we cannot teach. So that Congress, that bringing together of teachers from all levels in 2 separate sessions, elementary and secondary, bringing together the school boards, bringing together the school managers, and getting all of their input in one document. And then getting to the point where we started to implement some of these changes in pilot projects such as the Teachers Assistance Program. This was one of the definite recommendations that I saw as necessary, but was validated in that Congress by that conference by the teachers and by school managers and by all the other stakeholders, that it was necessary for this system to work, that they have more assistance in the classrooms. And so together with USM, we came up with a pilot project and had our student teachers going into the classrooms for 2 to 3 hours per day, and giving them the opportunity to get the experience, because there was also that negative that the USM graduates did not seem to have enough experience coming in. Mm-hmm. So to me, it was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. It was a win-win situation for our student teachers and for our teachers and for our students, because they would have more attention. So that program went into place while I was still in government. However, it died out shortly after I left. Hopefully, I've been hearing that they are planning to restart it again come August. But things like that, as you said, when I left, they were just getting started, and you're not able to finalize the process to make it part of the policy that it would continue. Okay. And so I caught some flack for that. Some people saw how it was. It is a pilot, so you have to wait on the reports coming out of the pilot before you can implement. And therefore, yeah, for whatever reason, the incoming government at that time didn't see fit, or they weren't prepared to continue with that project. There were several other things, especially where culture and heritage were concerned, that we sat down and we talked about, together with my cabinet and the culture department, and came up with goals for 10 years, 2013 to 2023, the decade of revitalization of our natural and cultural heritage. And it hurt my heart personally, because culture has, education always gets attention. We know education is in a mess and we need to improve it, But culture and heritage on St. Martin never got the attention it deserved, ever. And for the first time, the people saw that happening. And again, you know, there was a tip and there was a dip. And I know that right now the Culture Department is hosting some conferences from UNESCO that is global and international. But we did not go any further with our local, with our own development in terms of getting our goals, our first set of goals. My goal at that time, and I can say it here, and given the opportunity, it will be my goal again, was to bring all stakeholders in culture together, because what has been keeping culture and heritage moving during 40 or more years has been individuals and organizations. Individuals and organizations, and that's why during the first Emancipation Day celebration, we honored the late Camille Bailey, and it was the last thing we could do for him as a living icon, because this man worked out of little chicken cubs that government pushed him into back in those days. And people cannot forget this. These things have to be written in our annals. They have to be able to be pulled up and read by our students, that this man did everything that he possibly could to keep culture alive on St. Martin, and was always given a back door, a back seat, and pushed into a corner. And he was so proud of that moment, to be able to stand in the roundabout at the Salt Pickers roundabout and accept it. And he was so weak, and I had no concept that that would have been, you know, almost his last public appearance.
I mean, I don't
it was
think,
overwhelming.
I don't think anybody had any idea, because it was mostly associated with the passing of his wife not too long before. And people thought that, you know, he was still in a stage of recovery from that.
So but he had his own
you know,
issues,
when we got that call that he was in the hospital, I was happy that, you know,
we were able to honor him,
see him in his last days before he passed on. But speaking about, you know, heritage and culture, I know, and the reason why I'm bringing this up also is because shortly after the present government took office, the leader of the party made a lot of to-do. And I say a lot of to-do because since then, nothing else was heard. But
he made mention.
Made a big promise again to the people that he was going to build a center for the performing arts. I think this is one of the things when you spend such a short time in government, when you're so busy with so many things and do not sometimes get enough time to speak about everything or go in depth about things, particularly because they are, let's say, at the beginning stage and at the planning stage, and no one, for sure not both of us, expected that on Fish Day in May last year, we would have heard that, hey, the government had fallen.
About to fall,
but could you elaborate a bit more on the plans and intentions, and particularly the discussions, the negotiations with the Plans family to acquire that land? But before I talk about it, I think...
Yes, thank you, Mr. Marlin.
I'm giving you an opportunity to speak about it.
It is culture and heritage. As I said, we had a 10-year plan, which we wanted validated by the stakeholders. And one of those plans included the establishment of a cultural and performing arts center. As you know, we have several dance performing groups on the island. We have cultural groups. We have the drum bands. We have the steel pan. Everybody, the theater groups, they are separated. They're everybody working in a little area somewhere, and sometimes apply for certain grants and stuff, etc., from government. And I believe that in order to promote culture and heritage, we need to do it in a concerted manner, and by having one area where performances can be done, but also practice, have different types of theaters, to have an area where you can have visiting artists not only come in and perform, but visit. So this thing not only would enhance our culture, but give us a platform to host regional events that would, you know, enhance our tourism product. So you have a location within the region. You're already a hub for so many things. Now you would be able to also be a hub to put on big theatrical productions and that would be an event you can host during your off season. So other things that you can offset the low season with. The Plans family being developers and owners of a huge tract of land that ran, and I believe you had already had some negotiations with them for the entire Belvedere project to be planned. But from the Rice Hill on one side right up to the Bethlehem Hill, which is next to Nazareth and borders on Pumoon in French Quarter. So several people wouldn't even understand that, but everything to the right of the gas station that is presently there, up to the border and go up that hill, was that piece of land. And
actually runs up to Weymouth Hill.
Up to Weymouth Hill, so over the hill. You know, and the possibilities there for us to have a connection between this side of that side to get into that busy hub of South Ward that would affect our traffic situation. But the possibilities we also were negotiating with them to have an elementary school, free land for an elementary school in that area. People would be another elementary school, but the Dutch Quarter, Middle Region, and Mount William Hill Soccer Garden area is a huge area. And keeping our schools small, I think, should be one of our goals, because the bigger the school, the less interactive it can be. And we already have the M. Genevieve with over 300 children, the Martin Luther King with over 200, and then the Catholic school in Middle Region. But Middle Region doesn't have a public school. So I think it would not have been gone to waste, and if necessary, then even one of the other school boards could have had access to that property. However, besides that, we also had the opportunity, they were going to put aside land for a high school. And at that time, we had the MAC approaching government for land. We had the Seventh-day Adventists also looking for land for a high school. Everybody's talking about only having 3 or 4 high schools being detrimental to our youth. So as a government, even though it would be more expensive, maybe it would just be a shifting. I would see it as, because then the larger schools would become smaller if we have more schools in more destinations. So I saw that as a positive thing as well. On top of that, they had a plan that included a shopping mall. And I was able to convince them to change that idea for a huge tract of land to turn it into a theater, a national theater for the performance arts. And they were over the moon about it, because that's also a part of their acculturation, something they're interested in. So they mixed an idea that would bring in money for them as a family, for something that would benefit the entire country. And so we were negotiating for that, negotiating for the parking space, as well as an area for a cricket field. And that is about the time when the whole sand started filling in the pond, and Silveria Jacobs knew nothing about it. So I was quite flabbergasted. If there had been plans for a cricket field in Phillipsburg that were far along, then I believe that it should have been brought to the office of the minister in charge of sport, so that we could have meaningful and fruitful discussions on it. And we could decide then, hey, which one would be more feasible for us as a country. But I had never gotten the opportunity to do that. And I find that very, very sad, seeing as, you know, the good gentleman who they said was responsible for it was still a part of our party. No, not a part of our party. I'm mistaken. He had already gone independent, but he was a part of the coalition. So never had there been an attempt to sit and discuss, but we were still forging ahead with our plans for the National Institute for the Performing Arts. And we had the input of several of our artists, what is now NIA. They were in the process then of forming. So they had been in meetings with us. They had already had a preliminary plan, which we were revamping and reworking. It would have included spaces for music, for dance, for theater, for poetry, I mean, the whole gamut. So later on, to have heard the UP leader talk about forming a commission and calling off names of persons who had never been contacted, I was flabbergasted, because we had been so far ahead in our planning already, and already had the input of these same persons in terms of how this National Institute should look.
So basically, when the campaign for the 2014 parliamentary election kicks off, one can safely say that these plans will be unveiled. These would be part of your campaign, the mission.
Definitely.
And
I have not lost sight of that goal. I still believe that a lot of input needs to be had by the different stakeholders for us to properly plan a 10-year plan. So we're now in 2014. We can easily adjust to 2014 to 2024. It's not a problem for me because I am focused on us going there. And the people of St. Martin deserve a government, I believe, that will be working cohesively with the people of St. Martin. We must and always have to include the persons who have been carrying the torch all along. Government is only now really doing what it has to do for culture, and we must involve all those other icons who have been over the years working, toiling, and tirelessly and without compensation for the promotion of culture on St. Martin.
Well, you know, time flies really.
When you're having fun.
And we have just a few more minutes left, just about two more. So in those 2 minutes, I think it would be good also to touch on something that was very close to your heart also, which was the upgrade of
sports.
The sports facilities.
I know you were going there. Sports on St. Martin was another very largely neglected area, and the people of St. Martin, I think I've said it in several press conferences at the time, when I went into office, I heard about the upgrading of several sports facilities, but no one could put their hands on the advice for it. The advice had been already made and approved to some extent. So when I did finally see it, when I did finally get it in my hands, which was after maybe 3 or 4 months in government, we immediately set to work with the cooperation of Minister Tuitt to sign off on the refurbishing of only 2 of the 4 because of the finances involved. Okay. So what had been approved with the government before us for 4 facilities ended up costing government so much now because we had taken so long, because we didn't see it as a priority and put it in a drawer. And this is something I think the people of St. Martin need to understand. This is not playing politics. I'm not playing politics with the people's patrimony. This is something that I found in a drawer, or was found and brought to me, and it had been signed off by the Honorable Rhoda Arundel, and then contingencies were put on it by the finance minister at the time, Mr. Shigemoto, that we will only do this project if we are hosting the Kingdom Games in 2013, and this is in 2011. Had we started in 2011, by now, 2014, all 4 would have been refurbished. So it really hurt my heart that I had to cut down to doing it in stages and doing only part of Rowley Village and then going to Little League. And that time Little League was chosen because there was an international tournament coming. So I'm running out of time.
We are not running out of time. We're actually out of time. So let me say again, congratulations to our new deputy leader of the National Alliance. We definitely would have you back on the program again.
Thank you, Mr. Marlin. I look forward to it.
This has been another edition of the National Alliance Weekly Program. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you, Silveria, for being on the program with us, and we look forward to seeing you soon again.
Follow the white line down the road, to the polls, girl. Follow the alliance down the road, and we go forward, girl.